Hello, welcome to today's session, all about how to rank in AI search, particularly Google's SGE. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. Welcome to everyone who is joining us. Whilst people are coming in, just to introduce myself, my name's Tim. I am the founder of Exposure Ninja, and we're a digital marketing agency. We help our clients get ranking, get traffic, and get business online, not least through search. And that's one of the topics that we're going to be talking about today, how to rank in this new generation of AI search engines that are going to be coming, with Google's SGE being the first one for us to play with. Welcome to Angel from Romania, Dan from Colombia, Yvette from Northampton. Amazing cross-section of the world there. Fantastic. Whilst people are coming in, I'm just going to sort of explain what we're going to look at today. So for those who don't know, SGE is Google's new AI search engine, generative AI powered search engine. And we figured out how to rank in it, and we've shared some information about this previously. This is a bit of a sort of a recap of some of that information, but there's also some new information from updates that we've seen Google make to SGE since the start of the year. And some of these updates, we're still noticing changes that Google is making even in the last week. And there is some information about where we think Google is taking SGE based on reading some of the stuff that they're saying in some of the earnings calls as well. So a bit of information about where we think all of this is heading. So let's get cracking. I'm going to share my screen. It's usually helpful in these sorts of situations. If you've got any questions throughout, by the way, please feel free to stick them in the chat window. I've got the comments open here. So if you've got any questions, I'll see them come through and answer them live, or we should have some time for some Q&A at the end. So what we'll do today, I'll explain a bit about SGE is for those who maybe haven't heard of it. We'll then talk about some of the updates and some of the new changes that we're noticing rolling out. I'll take you through some SGE ranking case studies. And then we'll talk about next steps and what you can do with all of this, because that's really what's most useful to us all. Cool. Okay, for those who don't know, my name is Tim. I am the founder of Exposure Ninja. So I was actually a professional drummer for a few years. I built a website for my next door neighbor, which did quite well, got it ranked at the top of Google, and it completely changed his life. So I wrote a book about the process that I used to do that. I ended up building a whole bunch of websites and then starting Exposure Ninja in about 11 years ago now. So fast forward to today, we're a team around the globe working with clients on their SEO, content marketing, paid search, paid social, email marketing. We build websites, do conversion rate optimization, and branding and positioning work as well. So really incredibly talented team led by our CEO, Charlie, and I really enjoy seeing the work that we do. We've just been hearing from one of our clients this morning. They're a mortgage company in the US. They originated about $500 million of loans this year, and they'll do about $1 billion next year. And we've just heard that they've had to hire some new staff to deal with all the leads that we've been generating for them. That's the sort of thing that we absolutely love hearing about. We're very ROI driven. We love making a big difference. So of course, when this SGE stuff and all this AI search came out, we are right up to date with it and spending our time analyzing to see what difference it's going to make to businesses' ROI, because that's the sort of flavor of marketing that we're most passionate about. We share everything that we learn through our books and our YouTube channel. And if you're not already a subscriber on YouTube, then I'd encourage you to do so, because it's where you can keep up to date with the latest info on this stuff. We are bang up to date with the latest things that are going on with AI for search. We're doing some work at the moment looking at things like how to rank in ChatGPT, and we'll be sharing some of that info later on this year. So if you're not already a subscriber to the Exposure Ninja YouTube channel, then head over there and smash the subscribe button, as they say, or just tap it gently. Doesn't actually make a difference. So quick survey then, just so I can understand the sort of the level of expertise that we've got in the session today. If you have used SGE before, can you just type a little number 1 in the chat? So just give me a little 1 if you've used SGE before. If you've heard of SGE, maybe you've watched some of our videos or you've read about it or something, but you haven't used it yet, just give me a number 2 in the chat. And if you've not heard of SG or you don't really know what it is, then give me number 3. So if you've used it, number 1. If you've heard of it, number 2. And if you've never heard of it or you don't really know what it is and you don't really know why you're here, the number 3. That'd be great. Okay, we've got plenty of 2s. We've got some 3s as well. Great. Okay, so have we actually got anyone who's used SGE yet? Have we got any number 1s at all? I'm not sure. I haven't seen any number 1s. Okay, good. All right, fine. Well, if you're a number 2 or a number 3, oh, Jack, it's good to see you. It's been a few years since we last spoke. Good to see you. All right, great. If you're a number 2 or a number 3, then perfect. I'm going to give you a summary of what SGE is, some of the new changes, and then we're going to look at how to rank in it. So by the end of today, you'll be an expert and you'll be going off and optimizing your own website to rank in this new thing. Great. Okay, well, we think that SGE is pretty huge. And in fact, I've been doing SEO through Exposure Ninja and freelance since about 2010. And the first time I worked in search was about 2006, 2005, 2006. I think this is the biggest change that I've seen in the world of search. This is potentially massive. It really is a fundamental shift to how Google is going to work and how website traffic is going to work, just being completely honest as well. This is the sort of thing that we really need to get ahead of. We need to be aware of exactly what Google is testing here, because the implications for all of us that have websites and monetize organic traffic from Google are really quite colossal. So we need to make sure that we are up to date with this and we know how this thing is working and that we're making the most of the opportunities it presents. Because I think the other thing that's worth talking about here is that whilst SG is a fundamental change to how Google works, actually, anytime there is a fundamental change like this, it's also an opportunity for those who get on the front foot, figure out how to work it, figure out how to, use it, tweak their own websites to make sure that it works. So here's how it works. Here's what it looks like. So if you go on Google today, this is basically the type of search results page that you'd be used to seeing. This is an informational search. We can tell that because we've got this featured snippet here at the top. We've also got people also ask section here. So with the featured snippet and the people also asked, you'll notice that this is text that's taken directly from a website. And then Google shows the URL of the page that text is shown from. Okay, so very clearly, Google is using this page as a way of helping you find the page, the web page that is right, that has your answer. Then you've got the regular organic results down here, the 10 blue links that we're all used to fighting over. And then we've got some other sort of search furniture, images, maps, whatever, movie listings, weather, all that type of stuff. So that's Google today, or Google pre-SGE. But here's what SGE looks like, quite different. Quite different. Above the fold, all of this section here is produced by Google's generative AI. So this is like their kind of ChatGPT type large language model, which is producing this. Now, of course, we've got these carousel listings here. So these are websites which are linked in the SGE result. And then we've got little drop downs which you can click to see websites that corroborate the information in each paragraph of the SGE answer. So big change, obviously. The main change being that there are now 3 websites visible above the fold instead of many websites visible of the fold. So if you're not one of these 3 websites, sad times for you. And if you are, happy times for you. Actually, things are going to get a little bit funky. I'm going to show you that in just a second, though. All of the regular organic search stuff is still there. So the Google search results page is actually unchanged. It's just forced down by this big old SGE section at the top. However, I did say things were going to get a little bit funky. SGE has started to change even since this. So this was how it looked in maybe January, mid-January time, February time. Since then, it's actually started to change. Some people have noticed now, including me, that their SGE results now look like this. That carousel, those websites that were listed here, that we were hoping we were going to get all this traffic from, gone, dead. The carousel's gone. Instead, we have these little website links here. They've lost their featured images, but they're open by default. So previously you had to click on the little arrow to see these websites. Now you can just see the websites by default. Now, we don't want to panic too much about this. because Google is testing lots of different versions of SGE and has been doing for quite a while. So we're not going to panic. We're not going to run screaming for the hills. Whatever version of SGE Google decides to go with, we're going to optimize for it and we're going to benefit from it because we're ninjas. But it's just interesting to see how much Google is changing this, even before it's officially released. And I can talk about some of the different searches which are showing SGE results. The carousel and not later on. But of course, like previously, all these other Google results, the Google search page that we're so used to fighting over and spending our time stressing over our rankings on, it's still there. It's just now buried even further. So of course, this impacts not just informational searches, but also branded searches. So here's a branded search for Exposure Ninja. Where's it gone? Here's a branded search for Exposure Ninja. The text might be a little bit small, so I'm going to explain what you can see. So all of that section at the top was SGE. You've still got the regular organic results here. So you can see this is a very rich set of search results. We've got the Google Business panel over here. We've got some tweets embedded here. But all of that stuff is forced down now, including the information about the business from Google Business page, by this huge SGE section. You can see you can click on these little arrows to see the little websites that feed. Oh no, they don't feed it. They corroborate the information in the SGE answer. We've got text being taken from different places, reviews. You can have a follow-up conversation with SGE as well. So you can click on these little questions and that starts a bit of a conversation and brings up more search results. Here's information about the Exposure Ninja podcast with all of these websites corroborating the information there. That person just clicked on Exposure Ninja pricing, which was one of the suggested follow-up questions. And you can see here that SGE has actually made a mistake. It's taken information about some SEO tools that we published on our site, and it's decided that this is our pricing. And of course, this is one of the limitations of SGE in its current format, is that it's not always 100% accurate. And because it's not necessarily citing sources, it's just taking information and rewriting them from different websites, then it can sometimes be inaccurate. But a very different search. And obviously the potential for this is that we lose even some of our branded traffic to this thing, which would be quite shocking for a lot of businesses, I think. So this marks a real fundamental shift of Google's from being, I guess, a search engine to being an answer engine. And if you think about what ChatGPT does and why ChatGPT is so in favor with a lot of people, it's because when you go to ChatGPT, you're not looking for a whole bunch of websites that you then need to trawl through. You're just looking for an answer. And that's what ChatGPT gives you. And this is Google's version of that, where it's looking to just give the searcher the answer inside the search results rather than giving the searcher a whole bunch of websites that they then need to go through and find the answer themselves. This is a fundamental shift. Now, what impact is this going to have on traffic? Well, the truth be told, nobody knows. Nobody knows what sort of impact this is going to have on traffic. It's probably not going to have a good impact. There's an SEO firm from Israel called Agile SEO who put this study together last year. And they basically made a few assumptions and then they projected 4 different scenarios based on those assumptions. In the best case scenario, the average website lost 18% of their organic traffic. That's the best case scenario, okay? The average website lost 18% of their organic traffic. Oh! In the worst case scenario, the average website lost 64% of their organic traffic. So these are huge, huge projections. Now, a couple of notes on this. Firstly, I think that their assumptions were a little bit pessimistic. I don't think things will be as bad as this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that within each of these average website performances, there was a real spectrum. So in some of these cases, some websites lost 95% of their traffic, whereas others actually gained traffic as a result of SGE if they figured out how to rank for it, how to optimize for it, and they weren't already ranking for some of those searches, but they figured out how to rank for SGE, then they would actually see an increase in traffic. So that is what we have to work on. We have to work on optimizing our websites and our pages for SGE so that we can see an increase in traffic rather than seeing our traffic get decimated by this. So that's really important. By the way, if this is seeming a little bit glum, don't worry. It's going to get a little bit cheerier in the future, I hope. Where do we see the sort of winners and losers in this space? Well, I think I'm expecting to see a drop in informational organic traffic. So particularly more generic informational searches, how, why, where type questions. Similar to how, there was a whole industry that sprang up around what's the weather in Bristol today, right? And then Google just deleted that entire industry essentially and just shows the weather results inside the search. Just shows the weather inside the search results. And I think a lot of businesses that have relied on getting traffic for phrases like, how tall is Ryan Gosling, right? That's just gone, right? SG is going to gobble that type of thing. So a lot of those types of searches are going to be, I think, the lowest hanging fruit for SG to pick off. We're also expecting, though, on a more commercial note, a lot of customers' research happening on Google. And that's really, I think, where Google wants to take this. Google wants people to be able to research their products and the things that they buy actually on Google and do more of that research on Google, because then, of course, Google gets to be there when they're ready to make the purchase and show them an ad or show them a product that they can purchase directly through Google, or go directly to a website to purchase. So potentially more of a customer's research will be happening on Google. The example I like to think about is, let's say that you're considering buying a new phone, right? That might be a search that is actually made up of maybe 5 different searches. So let's say that you're going to change phone, right? You're going to be really brave, do something that very few humans are ever able to do. You're going to buy a completely new phone, not just the next version of your current one. You might start that search by comparing iOS to Android. You're trying to work out which group you're in. You might then search for particular brands. You might search for reviews of certain phones. You might decide that you're going to get a Galaxy S, and then you need to find out which model you're going to get, and then you need to work out which color you're going to get and what the cases and accessories, all this type of stuff. So let's say that there are 5 different searches that you conduct, and 3 different search terms for each of those. And let's say, for argument's sake, that you visit 3 websites as part of each search. Well, you've got 45 different websites there that you would have researched on that journey to figure out which phone to buy. Well, now potentially Google wants to keep you in SGE for as much of that search as you possibly can. So I think there's a real chance that we see some impact there to organic traffic. Now, there was some great questions there from Ron, Anna, and Sarah. Fantastic questions. One of them is going to be answered in just a second, and I'll come back to the others in just a minute as well. We also think this might lead to fewer top of funnel visitors, because these tend to be less committed, less attached to particular brands. So these more generic searches where they're not really attached to any one particular brand might also be lost to SG. But of course, this is also a massive opportunity for brands that do get to grips with SG and can get their website listed in those answers, because you then get a chance to have someone come onto your site and capture that person. This will give some businesses doubts over their content strategy. Is there any point doing all of this? Google's just going to eat all my traffic. Yes, there is point to doing all of this, but hopefully your competitors look at all of this, they don't figure it out, they get terrified, and they just drop themselves out. They say, right, we give up with all of this. SEO was already hard enough. It's just got harder. I can't take this. I'm out. That's what you hope, because this, as I'm going to show you, this is incredibly gameable. This is incredibly gameable. And my initial research into, ChatGPT also shows that actually, potentially we're looking at less sophisticated search engines here that we have to play with. So if we get our heads around this and we figure out how to optimize for this, then actually we could stand to be real beneficiaries of this, of all of this change. Okay. Of course, the question is Google actually going to release this? Are they just going to drop it? Here's what Sundar said in Q2, in their Q2 earnings call, which would have been middle of last year. So I think they do their quarterly earnings calls like a full month at the end of the following month with that quarter, right? Wait, so Q4 ended in December. Their earnings call was the end of January. So this was middle of last year. Sundar said, over time, this will be just how search works. We're building the next major revolution in search. Now, that was how bullish he was about SGE middle of last year. Then in their Q3 earnings call, it was all about, yes, we're testing different ways to show adverts. So someone asked, Anna asked, I cannot see how this goes with the advertising model on Google. I don't think Google can yet. And I think that's probably the thing that is limiting when this thing rolls out. Google will not release SGE without an advertising model that's attached to it. We're going to talk about this in a little bit later on. Then in Q4, which is the most recent quarter for Google, a great analyst question came along, which was about rolling out, and are we seeing Google search being impacted by people going to ChatGPT? Sundar just completely dodged that question altogether. But I think that shows the pressure that Google is under to roll out something like this to take on ChatGPT. Now, Sundar was a bit less bullish about SG in this call, though, and actually steered away from giving any predictions and steered away from some of maybe the hype that he'd been spouting in previous earning calls. Instead said they're increasing the number of searches for which SGE is really useful. And I think that paints a picture of a future where we'll see SGE being one of the features in search. So you know how sometimes you see shopping results in a search, but you don't always see shopping results. Sometimes you see local results in a search, but you don't always see local results. I think that's where we'll get to with SGE. It'll be one of those things where sometimes Google shows SGE if it thinks it's going to be useful for that. But actually, sometimes it's really not that useful. And I think you'll see it go from being offered on most searches to actually showing up by default in some, being offered in others. But sometimes you won't see SGE at all. So I think that's where it's going. But I think it's incredibly likely that they are going to launch this. And I actually think their timelines so far point to them most definitely launching it. If we look at what's happened so far, so SGE was supposed to leave labs mode. This is their testing labs mode in December 2023. So prior to that, it was only available to people in the US or using a US VPN, using Chrome, and on desktop. So prior to that, it was only available to people in that cohort. And then it was supposed to finish testing in December 2023. We all assumed it was then going to launch. It didn't. They extended the testing period and removed the deadline, at which point people are like, SG is never going to come. We can all go back to our old ways. We don't need to worry about this. Bad move. By February 2024, SGE was available in labs mode on mobile. So Google is expanding the surface area at which it can collect user data. By February, it was visible on mobile, which is also around the sort of time where it allowed people to start using other browsers. So, for example, I can get it on Safari as well. So it's not just Google Chrome. So what Google is doing here is they're expanding the number of people that are using SG in order to allow them to collect more data about when it is useful and when it is not useful. There's also some screenshots on Twitter of some Android users being offered SGE without signing up for testing mode. So this is the first time we've actually seen some limited sort of public rollout of this. So I think all of these signs point to, we actually don't know when this thing is coming out, but it looks like it is coming, and Google is increasing the number of people getting to use SGE. So of course, this leads to people giving up with SEO and declaring that SEO is dead. What's the point of trying to game this thing? Google's going to be keeping all the traffic. I remember one of my early marketing heroes, a guy called Chris Cardell, declaring that SEO is dead. I was devastated by this. Of course, luckily I took no notice because Chris said this in 2011, around the time of Panda and Penguin. And we all know what happened to SEO since 2011. It continued to grow in popularity and importance and has been responsible for building multi-billion-dollar companies. So SEO is not dead. And I actually think this phase will be absolutely no different. My personal opinion about SEO, as long as there is a search engine, there will be search engine optimization. SGE is a search engine. ChatGPT, whether or not you want to debate whether or not it's a search engine, people use it as a search engine and you can optimize for it. So as long as there are ways of people finding businesses online, there will be a way of optimizing the information about your business to make those engines recommend you or offer you up. And that's the name of the game. That's what we have to do. Figure out how to optimize the information about our business, the formatting of our pages to make Google or whoever want to rank us and show us to their searches. So we think that there are 3/4 ways to win in SGE. Let me show you what they are. So here's an example search. This search is for what is CAS Accreditation UK. For those of you who are outside the construction industry, CAS Accreditation is a construction industry accreditation scheme. And we work with a client in this space, CHAS. So CAS accreditation is like a generic construction accreditation scheme. So it's not owned by any one company, but CHAS is one of the providers of this accreditation scheme. So the first way to win is, as you can see here, I've searched for what is CAS Accreditation UK, and by default, this link is open, okay? And it's the CHAS website that is showing here. So whereas in pre-SGE times, you search for what is CAS Accreditation UK. Yes, CHAS was ranking. We got them ranking top of Google for this term, but they were ranking with a whole bunch of other websites. Now they are the only website visible above the fold. Happy days for them, sad times for everyone else. That's the first way to win, is to get listed, and preferably get listed in the first paragraph here so that you are visible by default. And I'll explain how to do that in a couple of minutes. The second way to win is that SGE results will sometimes recommend or reference particular businesses or organizations, as they are doing here. So you can actually get SGE to recommend your business in its answer. Now, the third way to win is a little bit more advanced. Let me tell you the story of all of this. So CHAS is a provider of CAS accreditation, but they are not CAS accreditation. CHAS is a company, a private company. CAS is a sort of a generic accreditation. But look what's happened here in the suggested follow-up questions. Because we've done so much content marketing about CAS for CHAS, then when you search for this, SGE suggests, do you mean what does CHAS stand for? Or CHAS accreditation. So think about this. This is like you've searched for, what is a vacuum cleaner? And SGE has said, which is the best Dyson to buy? Right, so that's the other way to win here, is if we can influence SGE sufficiently, we could actually get it to sort of funnel users towards having a conversation about our business or our products, which I think is really interesting and a very curious way of you're not influencing the search engine. You're almost like influencing the assistant that is doing the search. Okay, I noticed this in the very early days when we were first playing with this and asking it about digital marketing agencies. And I actually got Bing Chat, which is powered by ChatGPT, to recommend the Exposure Ninja free website and marketing review. And I thought, how incredible is this? We have an opportunity now where we can get AI agents to be recommending our businesses to potential clients. Very, very exciting. Now, of course, as Anna has very astutely suggested, I cannot see how this goes with the Google advertising model. There will be a PPC offering here. You can guarantee it. This is too big a revenue driver for Google not to launch without PPC. I think $162 billion of their annual revenue is on search ads. So they're not going to launch this without a PPC offering, and they're still testing it. Okay. And of course, previous to the new version of SGE, there was also the carousel. The carousel still exists for some searches, by the way. It still exists for some searches, but not all. And that is the fourth way to win. Although in this case, that way to win has been taken from us, at least temporarily. Okay, so big question. Can we influence SGE? Can we actually get our website being ranked and recommended here? The answer is yes. Short answer, yes, which is a good job because that's exactly what this session is about. So in this, I'm going to show you some before and afters. These are all examples that I've run with Exposure Ninja because I was able to log in and hack around and play and see what we could do to get ranking. So in this before time, and this before search, the search term is what is a page title. Exposure Ninja was not ranking in SGE anywhere. So we were going to get no traffic from SGE. We had no featured snippet. So this featured snippet did not belong to us. It still doesn't. And we were ranking position 8 in the regular organic results. So towards the bottom of page 1, now miles down the page because SGE has taken up all this space at the top. So in other words, sad times. SGE was only going to punish us when it came out for this search. So our goal, of course, was to get ranked and to get featured, and we're able to do this. So after making some tweaks and optimizations, we were able to get ranked position 1 in the SGE carousel and linked throughout the answer. So there's the carousel with the link, and there's being linked throughout the answer. And you can see, by the way, in the carousel, the importance of those featured images, right? Look at how that listing stands out a mile compared to the others because there is a featured image. So we've got to keep alive to this potentially being an influencer on click-through rate from SGE. Then they ditched the carousel and we actually lost visibility. Managed to get it back though, as you can see here. So re-optimize the page through the process I'm going to explain. And then we got that ranking back within 6 hours. The featured image is gone since the SG carousel disappeared, but we're able to get that visibility back. So this is a great example. You know, we weren't ranking particularly well for this search. It's not really a search that we targeted, to be brutally honest. SGE comes along. All of a sudden now we're one of the 2 websites that linked above the fold. So the amount of traffic that we would get from this search as a proportion of all the traffic going to websites would have increased significantly here. Happy days. We also noticed, by the way, that once we optimized for SGE in the way I'm going to show you, we ranked better in Bing chat as well. So let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of this thing called Bing. But Bing chat is Bing's version of SGE. So it's powered by ChatGPT. So it's OpenAI plus Bing makes Bing chat. Possibly might form the basis of OpenAI's web search products that they're working on. Who knows? Hopefully not. But you never know. Anyway, we noticed that once we'd optimized our website for SGE in the way I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute, we ranked better in Bing chat. So we ranked position 1 and we're referenced in 6 out of the 7 links to this same search in Bing chat. So that's good news. So this looks to be a way that you can optimize for AI search engines in general. In this example, this is a search for sponsored tag. We had no SGE ranking. We ranked a position 1 organically with a featured snippet, but didn't rank in SGE. This is really important. Just because you're ranking well in featured snippets or regular organic results doesn't mean that you're going to rank in SGE. They are different things. Different things. You need to optimize for SGE separately. Paul says, sorry to interrupt. Will this seminar be available online to watch again? Yes, it will, Paul. Don't worry. I'm talking fast because some people have seen some of this stuff before. GJ says, I've been devouring your content like a crazy kid with a crush. Thanks. Not sure what to say there, but thank you. Okay, example 2. Once we're able to tweak and optimize for SGE, good news, SG carousel ranking and link throughout SG answers. Boom, boom. So the good news is this is tweakable. Now, when this, when carousel disappeared for this search with SGE, the good news is we kept ranking, and actually we went from position 2 to position 1 here. So we changed nothing here. I didn't have to re-optimize the page. When carousel disappeared for this one, we actually gained some visibility. So sometimes when the carousel disappears or when SGE changes, you gain visibility. Sometimes you lose visibility. And SGE, as I'll talk about in a bit, is a lot more dynamic. It's the sort of thing where I'm finding we have to re-optimize for it as the SGE answer changes. And as they change the format of the SGE answers, you might have to re-optimize for it. But, you know, the good news is you can rank in SGE very quickly. The bad news is, you know, within a matter of hours, the bad news is you can also lose your ranking. It's much more dynamic. It's much more changeable. Okay, so how are we doing this? Well, actually, let me just give you, let me just take you over to search. So let's just go for, see if this works. Okay, so SGE answer here. So what we did is I noticed that in the early days of SGE, it doesn't do this anymore. In the early days of SGE, when you click on a website, the URL that the site goes to had a massive modifier. And what it did is it took you to a piece of text on the page and it highlighted that text in purple. And what I noticed is it was basically rewriting the highlighted purple text. I called this out as a massive potential legal issue for Google because it was very clear that they were basically just taking the content from the page and rewriting it in search. And they were even showing you which bit of text they were taking. Interestingly, they now dropped the purple bit. They've dropped the sort of reference bit. the URL modifier thing, it's all gone. Interesting, right? But what I noticed whilst that purple thing existed is I noticed that a lot of the websites that SG linked to, it was referencing text towards the top of the page, particularly first couple of paragraphs. So I thought, well, okay, that's pretty interesting. Normally when you make a post like this, so this blog post is fairly typical. What are no-follow sponsored and UGC tags? And what you do when you write a post in the old school world of SEO is you would start off by telling the story, right? You'd explain that these different tags are attributes that you would use to show Google information about your page, whatever, and here, read on to find out exactly what they are, that type of thing. SG doesn't seem to dig that. SG likes you to get straight to the point, give that answer almost immediately. So what we did is we re-optimized these pages, reconfigured them to add a paragraph right at the start, which basically summarized the answer that SG was giving. And that's really important, right? This answer essentially summarizes exactly the answer that SG is giving. And in particular, we're very careful to summarize the start of the answer. A sponsored tag is a link attribute that indicates a link is paid placement, advertisement, or sponsorship related. The reason we want to give information that corroborates the start of the SG answer is because then we get listed in under the first paragraph, which is open by default. What we might do is we might include some information like this bit. We might write something that backs up this statement here. But if we did that, we'd get listed here, which is no good, is it? Because very few people are going to get there. We want to be one of the sites that's recommended right at the top, open by default, because that gets you listed here and that increases your chance of being in the first 3 positions in the carousel. So that's what we've done. We've basically added summaries to the tops of the pages which corroborate the information in the SG answer. And what you'll sometimes find is that when you do that, and you have to submit this through Search Console, by the way. You have to go and submit it to Search Console, otherwise you don't get the benefit. So go and make the changes to the page, go to Search Console, submit the page, request recrawling, and then usually you'll know if you're going to rank or not in SG within about 12 hours. If you're not doing it for 12 hours, it's not going to happen. So what you might want to do then is go back and re-optimize and then keep trying until you get something that Google wants to reward. So that's broadly how this process works. We add that text to the top of the page, summarizing the SG answer, force re-indexing through Google Search Console. Absolutely crucial that you do this. And then usually you can get ranking, in this case, within 5 hours. And 5 to 6 hours is a typical sort of time period for getting ranking in SG. If you've already got a page that's ranking reasonably well on Google, that's the other thing. Another example. Blah, blah, blah. This example is we do marketing teardowns of different businesses, Shein in this case. So this is a search for Shein marketing strategy. We had no SG ranking, but we got SG ranking, position 1 in the carousel, and twice from the answer. And again, we had to take a completely different approach to content to rank this post, because this post started off by, exactly how you would start off a post. Like you'd start off talking about, Shein is a fast fashion brand from China and it's been well known for its fast growth. SG hates all that stuff. Just cut all of that out, get straight to the point. Shein's marketing strategy is based on micro-influencers, user-generated content, low minimum purchase and free shipping, and just massive amounts of media spend. So we just summarize that answer right at the top, and then we go into more detail later on. That seems to be the sort of thing that SG really loves. And when they updated and removed the carousel, we kept our visibility exactly the same. So still the first linked website there. And we didn't have to re-optimize for this, by the way. We didn't have to re-optimize for this. Okay, we've also done this for clients, including Ron, who is, I believe he is with us. We are big fans of Ron and his fantastic business, Golf Course Lawn. If you want your lawn to go from what mine looks like, which is a sort of a wild heath area, a heath zone, a wildlife nature reserve, an informal wildlife heath zone might be disused, and you want it to look beautiful like a golf course, then Ron's business has all the information and the products needed to do so. And we got Ron ranking for some SG searches in less than a day. So for these searches, best seed to grow grass, Ron wasn't ranking anywhere, no visibility, ranking well on organics, but nowhere in SG. We got him ranking position 1 in the carousel in less than a day. And this one, best fungicide for lawns, same deal in less than a day. And this one actually still shows a carousel. This is an interesting example, which I can talk about later on. So we've got some questions. I'm just going to answer a few of those questions before we move on. Michael says, how do you get SGE to show up instead of Google search? Great question, Michael. So at the moment, you need to be signed up for Google Search Labs. So if you go onto Google and you type in Search Labs, you sign up, and you can then choose to be using SGE. And then when you are using via a US VPN, then you will see your SGE results. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but it is there. Another question we've had, not really a question, just a bit of annoyance here. Google has been getting worse. You have to scroll like 3 screens before any real results. They cluttered it with tons of ads, images, info boxes. Are ads more important than SEO these days? MG, great question. People are still clicking on organic results. I can tell you that for sure. The percentage of searchers that click on ads doesn't seem to have really changed that much over the years that I've been tracking it. So people are still clicking on organic results. They're still fighting through. And with SGE, potentially, I think we'll see more people clicking on organic results than before. So I absolutely think organic results are the way forward. Of course, paid search can be absolutely phenomenal. We've got some incredible paid search clients, incredible results generated by paid search. So I don't think this is an either or. I think this is a both. And of course, you want both in a particular time of turbulence like this, because last thing you want to be doing is relying on organic search for all of your traffic, only for Google to update SG and you lose your visibility. Likewise, you don't want to be reliant on paid search, and then if Google increases the prices because it's now built on some AI thing and you can't afford to play that game anymore and you've got no organic visibility, sad times for you. So you really want both of them, particularly in a time like this. Okay, Sarah says, how do you see this changing the best practice of epic skyscraper content? If I wanted to write about a topic, should I now be breaking it down into different articles and blogs? Really good question, Sarah. I don't think so. But I would write individual blogs, if you know what I mean. So I'd still write that massive skyscraper content because that's going to pick up links. That's going to get featured. That's going to get, citations. That's going to get people talking. And that's going to be really useful for clients. But I can't lie. If you want to rank in SG as it stands today, you do want micro blogs. We call them exact match blogs, which target one specific topic. I'm going to show you an example in just a minute. Ron has asked, given the uncertainty around how much SG will potentially affect organic search traffic, does it make sense to increase spend into paid social and Google ads? Yes, I would say. What I would say is if paid search and paid social haven't been a part of your marketing mix, I would definitely add them because you want that backup plan. Now, you might find, as a lot of our clients find, that actually paid search can be incredibly profitable, and they want to keep paid search and organic search going hand in hand because both of them are earning ROI. So let's do both. That's just the fastest way to grow your business. If paid social and paid search aren't massively profitable for you, what you might want to do is keep those campaigns, keep those channels ticking over. You're not necessarily diverting huge amounts in, but then if SG comes and completely rocks your world to the negative side, you've got those channels warmed up and you can increase your spend so as to minimize any disruption to business. Okay, we're going to keep going. Jack's asked a great question here. What are the implications on text versus vids pics? Great question. Let's come back to that in a bit. Okay, great. Let's keep going. The other thing that I wanted to play with is, can we change SG's answers? Because sometimes SG gives like random or wrong answers. Can we actually force this thing to spout out our truths instead? We live in a post-truth world, right? We live in a post-truth world. Can we get SGE to report on our truths instead of its own truths? Well, friends, yes, we can. Turns out, so in this search, how many books has Tim Cameron Kitchen written? The answer that SG was given was 5 books. And it was a pretty rubbish answer. If you look at this answer, you can see how to get to the top of Google is listed here, but then it's listed 2 other times as well. So it's rubbish answer, and it's actually wrong, because there are 2 more secret terrible books that nobody knows about. So what I thought is, okay, let's just influence this. So we can influence this, and I actually managed to influence this within 5 hours. So SG have been pulling that answer from Amazon and Goodreads and Thrift Books, like all of these high quality websites. So I just wrote a really trashy blog on my own personal website, which is, we've all got those personal websites that we never use, never up to date. This thing looks like 100 years old. I don't touch it. I've forgotten the logins. But what I did is I went and wrote a blog post on this website called How Many Books Has Tim Cameron Kitchen Written, where I gave the answer. And this is what I was referring to in Sarah's answer, the exact match blog, and actually influence SG's answer within 5 hours. So within 5 hours, SG has changed its answer. So this seems to imply that you can change SG's answer if you target it with a very specific piece of content about exactly that topic. Okay, if it's aggregating from multiple sources, you write a very specific piece of content about that exact topic, and you can influence SG's answer. This is very important if you're in the sort of reputation management or corporate comms space as well. Okay, so how do you get SG rankings? Well, the first thing is exact factors are going to vary based on you versus your competitors, because you need to be ranking prominently in Google search first in order to have a chance at ranking in SGE. Most of the pages that we've been able to rank in SGE have been already ranking in the first, say, page of Google results. Okay, and then it's a case of tweaking and optimizing specifically for SGE. So we take an experimental approach. We do the page copy adjustments I've shown you. Sometimes we'll create new pages if needed, building links. If the page isn't ranking already, we'll need to build links. We'll need to get that page ranking first. And then, of course, you've got all the on-site technical optimization that's required to get a page ranking on the first page of Google as well. You'll have to optimize your metas, of course, too. So what do you do with all of this? Do you panic? Do you run for the hills? Do you just give up and go and cry? The world seems to be getting terrible in every area, and now we've got this. Are you freaking kidding me? Why can't we just have a nice year? Well, there's 3 approaches, three ways that we've seen. Yeah, Angel says, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like we are F. Yeah, right. Well, there's 3 ways of responding to this, Angel and Co. I'm going all in on SG right now. I'm going to re-optimize our entire website. Every single page on the site we're going to optimize, making it top priority in case Google rolls this out immediately and it suddenly takes off. These people are well prepared. They sleep well at night, but I think this is actually an overreaction at the moment because we don't know when SG is going to rank, is going to launch. The second approach, people pretending that this is just going to go away. Hopefully, they're not going to launch this. This is your friend who tapes over the warning lights on their car dashboard. Generally a bad idea. Anyone who's been hammered by a Google algorithm update in the past will know that ignoring these things is not generally a good battle plan. That brings sad times. So we don't want to do that either. The approach that we've been taking with clients is that they need to make plans with this, or we need to make plans on their behalf for this. So what we've been doing, like for run sites, for example, we've been making sure that the team understands SGE, making sure that the client understands the potential impact of SGE. And if you're working with an SEO agency or an SEO person, they need to know this thing inside out, because this could drop at any time and the impact could be massive. We don't know. You don't want to be that business that's been doing SEO for years, only to wake up one day, find that SG's launched, you've got no idea what you're doing, all of your visibility's disappeared. That's rubbish, okay? You don't want to be that person. So what we're doing is we're doing some initial research for all of our clients to experiment to see which searches bring up SGE results. We're then optimizing some of their pages to see what it takes to get those pages ranking for that particular website in that particular space. That gives us and the client, of course, confidence. Okay, when this thing rolls out, or when we get notification of it rolling out, we can then go through the rest of the site and optimize because we've already got some proven case studies. So this is the approach that we would suggest. And of course, we can help you with this if you need. So if you want a free review of your website's SGE potential, you can apply for this at exposure.ninja/SGE. So go to exposure.ninja/SGE and we can talk to you about this. We can review your website to see your SGE ranking potential and whether you look to stand, whether you look to gain or get hammered in the face by SGE, and of course make sure that you've got a plan for this. We're doing this for our clients as well. Exposure Ninja clients get SGE optimization. It's one of the services that we offer. We're one of the first agencies in the world to share the process that we're using for this publicly. We think we're one of the first 2 agencies in the world to actually figure out how to optimize for SGE. And we're now doing this for clients. And most agencies still aren't talking about this. A lot of agencies don't even know that SGE exists. Even SEO agencies don't even know that this thing exists, that Google has been quietly testing it ready for a rollout. They've just got no idea at all. So you need to make sure you're with an agency that actually sort of gets this stuff. Oh, we've also started running training with different businesses to show them how to do this for themselves as well. So if you've got a large in-house content team, for example, we can show you and we can actually work with you to do some tests and to get some of your content ranking in SGE to give you the confidence that you can do this for yourself as well. Okay, so if you want to do any of that stuff, then you can go to exposure.ninja/SGE. Right, we've got about 10 minutes to answer questions. And also, I can show you how to find opportunities to rank in SGE using SEMrush. So if you've got a website that you'd like me to live demo, I'm not going to optimize you for SGE. I'm just going to show you how you would find some pages that will be a good fit for SGE. Then just drop your website URL in the chat and I'll pick one at almost random. Okay, so Jax asked, what are the implications on text versus video pics? Great question, Jack. So some SGE responses show videos and pictures embedded in them, but not very many. If I'm honest, not very many at all. In fact, all of the case studies that we've got of ranking in SGE have been on using text. So if you're primarily publishing video content, I know you've got a bunch of media properties, but if you're publishing primarily video content, you probably want some sort of transcription of that, or at least summary notes. And that paragraph at the top, which summarizes whatever topic that you're talking about, would be my intuition of where you'd want to go with this, so that you're making sure that you're giving SGE what it really, really wants. Of course, there are implications for video with Google's new perspectives filter, which is another massive, massive change to search, which we're expecting to come out as well. Okay, on pictures though, just going back to the carousel, let me see if I can just quickly show you a demo. Right, here's an example of a search. So this is a search I've just done today. I'm on a US VPN, which is why I can see this, and I'm signed up for Search Labs, which is why you got this thing. Now here's an example for a search, which is a commercial search. It's produced the generative AI answer. So all of this up to here is the generative AI answer. And look at what we've got. These are being pulled from Google's AI-powered organic product feed. But we've still got the carousel. And what I've been noticing is that for a commercial search, Google is now more confident showing product listings here. But if you want information, if you want to read someone's opinion, or you want to read a guide on how to find the best cameras for you, or some considerations, it's still showing a carousel, and it's including websites in the carousel. And what you'll notice is that only one of these sites has a featured image, which is showing up in the carousel. So which one are you going to click on? You're going to click on this one, because you probably can't even be bothered to read the information here. I don't mean you, Jack. You're incredibly not lazy, but you're going to click on the one with the image, particularly if the image is compelling and backs up the topic of the article. So that's one implication for images, is we want to make sure each of our pages has a featured image, which SGE is likely to show. And then sometimes in some of these, you'll also see images too. So I think better to be safe than sorry, and have images that work in this sort of thumbnail size. Okay. Next question we've got from Daniel, who says, have you tested these strategies in Perplexity? Yeah, great question, Daniel. So yes, Perplexity and ChatGPT are the other generative AI type answer engines which I've been playing in. Now, they seem to work slightly differently. So what I've noticed, for example, with ChatGPT, in fact, all of these AI chat search engines or answer engines seem to basically work in a pretty similar way, and that is you type a query, they pass your query into search language, Boolean search language, and then they run a background search, and then they summarize some of the results that are brought up by that background search. So ChatGPT does exactly this. Let's say that you search for best pizza restaurants in Bristol. Right, we've got someone tuning in from Bristol. Best pizza restaurants in Bristol. What ChatGPT will do is it will go and run a Bing search for best pizza restaurants Bristol. Okay, so it takes, if I give it a really lengthy, I'm going to Bristol next weekend and I want to go with my family and I want to find out the best pizza restaurants. I want to find the best restaurants. I'm thinking about pizza. Yeah, pizza would be pretty good. Or if I dump that train of thought garbage into ChatGPT, it's going to go, right, okay, let's just search on Bing for best pizza restaurants Bristol. It's then going to run that search and it's going to pick out some of the websites that are listed in the search results, and it's going to then rewrite or select some of the information from those sites and essentially rewrite that in the search results. That seems to be what Perplexity is doing as well. So the background is basically doing a web search and then it's just rewriting some of the content from the sites. So the name of the game in those search engines or those answer engines or these Gen AI bots is to figure out which websites it's referencing, first of all, so we can make sure that we're found on those websites, or we can provide one of those websites so that we can influence the answer. And then, of course, how it's deciding which bits of information from those pages to take and regurgitate to the user. So that's what I've been researching recently. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. ChatGPT seems to favor really sort of low quality blogs, bizarrely. So, if you search for best pizza restaurants Bristol, you would get predominantly TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, that, those types of, local directory type websites. But ChatGPT doesn't tend to cite those as its sources. Instead, it tends to focus on, mummy blog travel or I travel kids, stuff like this, like really sort of, I don't say low quality because that's a disservice. These blogs are run by people who are really passionate, but they're no like Condé Nast Traveler, that's for sure, right? But ChatGPT seems to favor citing these types of sources instead. So I think that's interesting. Whether or not they continue to do that as they build on their search product, I'm not sure. But yeah, some initial thoughts there. Okay. Dale's hungry. Great. So what we're going to do is just have a quick look at someone's website to see where we can find some opportunities for SGE ranking. I'm going to choose one which I want one that's fairly high authority and has some decent rankings. So okay. Let's go for, I'm going to go for fitness-nation.ro. Now, I think this might be a Romanian site. Let's see. Oh, I changed tabs. Here we go. So we're going to go fitness. And by the way, this is how I find opportunities to rank in SGE. So this isn't like, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to rank if you follow these steps, but I find SEMrush, we use SE ranking as well at Exposure Ninja to be really good. Hey, look at that organic traffic chart. High five to you. Who submitted this site? Angel, nice one. Okay, we obviously got a bit of visibility worldwide, but predominantly in Romania, as you would expect. Now, damn it, I don't speak Romanian. Foiled here. Okay, I'm going to talk you through the process anyway. This is what I would do. So first thing I would do is have a look at the keywords that we're ranking positions like 1 to 24. And the reason oh gosh, things have just gotten slightly weird. All right, there we go. That's why. Okay, so we're looking for keywords that we're ranking positions, say 1 to 20. This actually, I've just realized that this isn't going to work for this particular case. Has anybody got a higher traffic site in the US or UK? Let's go for Nick Wilcox Brown, wildphotographer.co.uk. I'm really sorry, Angel. Wildphotographer.co.uk. Okay, there's not enough traffic to this site really for this to work. But okay, no, maybe there is. Maybe there is. Okay, so this search here, this is one that I would look at. Okay. Low traffic currently, yeah. So what I would say here, firstly, Nick, let's get a dedicated page about wildlife photography holidays, which we can optimize for this search. And let's say that it's a dedicated page that's ranking for this search. Now, you're ranking position 9 for your homepage for this, so it's not the end of the world. Let's just have a quick look at the page and see how optimized it is for the phrase holidays. Okay, wild photography holidays. Okay. All right. So the next thing I would do, once I found a page that's a bit like this, which is ranking reasonably well on Google for this term, the next thing I would do is I'll go and check to see if we're getting SGE results. So wildlife, holidays, UK. And what I'm going to do is, all right, so here we can see we've already got this SGE panel. It hasn't asked us to generate, it's automatically generated us an SGE response. Now, the top ranking site here is The Guardian. So I can see that you're not ranking here, Nick, but that doesn't mean you couldn't. And then we're having a look down here. Now, I can see that you're not ranking anywhere. None of these are yours, okay? But I wouldn't be too put off by this. So what I would then do, hey, what's going on there? What I would then do, where's it gone? What I would then do is I'd look at this response here, this answer, and I would make sure that at the top of my page, I was covering each of these. So some of the best wildlife holiday options in the UK include Cairngorms National Park. A bit of information about this, not too much, because we want this section to be maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. Mull, Hebrides Cruises, Loch Shiel Cruises, and so on. You're basically summarizing the answer here at the top of the page in fairly short language. Then further on in the page, you're going to give much more detail about each of these. But I would bet that none of these are probably going to comprehensively cover all of this information. They'll each cover a bit, right? Speyside wildlife is that one there. Okay, so they're probably only going to cover that one. How to spot those in a ferry crossing. Each of these is going to offer piecemeal bits of this answer. If you could cover all of this answer and you're already ranking reasonably well for this term, now you might not be ranking reasonably well in the US for this term. It doesn't look like you are. But if you're already ranking reasonably well for this term, you've got a decent shot there. Oh, I've just realized this is absolutely tiny and you can't see it. You've got a decent shot there of picking up SG position and probably one of these first ones. So that'll be how I'd approach that. Okay. Okay. Anybody else got a website they want me to take a look at, or anybody got any SG questions that they want me to take a look at? Feel free. Oh, Dale starred some for me. I think I've answered all of those. Great. If you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go and grab some food. Cool. But stay sharp with SG. Obviously, keep testing it. I'd encourage you all to play with it. You need to know how this thing works. You need to know the types of searches that it's bringing up in your space. You need to know which types of searches are triggering SG results. And you need to see how this thing's working as well. What you don't want to be doing is trying to optimize for something that you're not familiar with. So you need to spend some time digging into this. Right, domyreports.com. Paul's just submitted that. We're going to do that one. Then we're going to all go and do some other stuff. domyreports.com. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you found this useful. Right, so domyreports.com. Where are we? It's not loading. Oh, it is loading. It's another fairly low traffic site, this one. So I'm not sure this is going to work either. But okay, school report writer. Okay. Nice. I mean, you've got all sorts of questions about AI, haven't you here? But anyway, all right, school report writer. So what we do is we'd head over to SG and we'd just search for school report writer and see it. Right, so this is one of those where SG isn't by default providing an answer. It does give us the option to do it. So if we do that, let's see what we get. But by the fact that it doesn't give me an answer by default makes me think that actually this probably isn't going to roll out by standard. But nevertheless, you can still optimize for it. This is really interesting. This is one of the few SG results I've seen that actually doesn't cite any sources at all. What it's doing is it's summarizing these answers. Wow. Okay. So what I might do here is produce a page on your site, something like best free school report writing tools or something like that. And then, of course, list yours, whether or not it's free or not. I don't know. You might want to have a play with that. But if you could write some content here, which might influence this, even if it has to influence the next version when they've retuned this and it's ingested all the world's information again, that's the plan here. So what I'd maybe think about might be some other terms like how to, or maybe school report templates or something like that. See if that brings up any links. Yeah, okay, so we've got some here. All right, these tend to be more design focused. I'm not sure that that's actually what people are going to be wanting here. Interesting. Yeah, so I'd have a play with this anyway. I think it's going to be very difficult to unseat Canva because it does seem to want to show actual templates here. But if you could have maybe a blog post which offers some free templates, free written templates, as well as maybe some designs as well, then you've got a chance of competing for some of these. Okay, I've got to go. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to go to exposure.ninja/SGE if you want to talk to one of the team about us either implementing this for you or training your team on it. Then do that. No worries. Thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Enjoy.